Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. A ship that I really wanted to review for a while, but there was always something coming in the way, is the Seattle, the Tier 9 American light cruiser. This, if you've been paying any attention, isn't the Seattle, this is the Cleveland, the Tier 8. Very excellent American light cruiser, and the reason we're looking at the Cleveland first is because I want to show you what the progression is here. And one of the main differences is in the guns. So the Cleveland, just to refresh your memory, had 4 triple turrets of 152mm guns with a 6.5 second reload, and has six twin sets of secondaries with a 6 second reload. The Seattle at Tier 9, if we look a little bit closer, gets a different setup. She has 4 152mm main guns with in triple turrets, but she doesn't get any secondaries. In return, these things reload in just over 5 seconds. So, is that better? Is that worse? We'll get to it. Anyway, the Seattle. I honestly haven't really been able to find out much about the Seattle. There was a ship called Seattle, but it's not this one. And even the Wargaming Wiki has been strangely quiet on the historical section. So I would presume that this ship does not exist and that this is a fantasy ship. But please, if you've been able to dig anything up or if you know anything, please let me know, because I'd be very keen to know where these things fit into the time and if these were really existing. But yeah, the Seattle. So what do we have? We have Tier 9, obviously. We have, again, a very reasonable fire and flooding resistance. These things are difficult to set on fire. And there's a reason for that, because these are support cruisers. They're AA cruisers. So if you've seen the Cleveland and you know what the Cleveland does, you usually don't rush in a Cleveland. You play a lot less aggressively than on the heavy cruisers, or at least that's how I do it. You more stick with your team. These are team player ships. These are not glory seekers. If you want to come out on top of the game, it'll happen occasionally. But most of the time, you do better if you support your team in these things. That's what these are all about. So, AA ships, light cruiser, not the most sturdy out there. She's got an okay speed. She is pretty maneuverable in the way I've set her up. And again, we've got these guns. So she has a bit of a better range than the Cleveland, which is greatly appreciated. She's probably having a better range than, I don't know, whatever the... she's probably having a bit of better range than the heavy cruisers as well. We will never know. But other than that, these are good guns. These are good guns. Plus, she gets a 5% chance of setting fire. I think the Cleveland had a 4. Let's quickly check. So for once, yeah, the Cleveland has less range and 4%. So the guns do a bit more damage, and she has a 1% better chance of fire, and they're reloading quicker. In return, you're losing your secondaries. This is not such a bad thing, because given that I liked the secondaries on the Cleveland, and they were dual purpose, but these are good guns, and you've got plenty of them. And a 16-degree turret rotation is not to be sneezed at, because the Cleveland didn't get that. She didn't get that either. So she turns her turrets faster than the Cleveland. The guns are better. In return, you lose the secondaries. Now, if we're looking at the AA between the two of them, you'll notice that the large caliber AA on the Cleveland is actually better than on the Seattle. And the reason for that is because the 127mm secondaries on the Cleveland are dual purpose, whereas the Seattle doesn't have them. So they're not, because they're not there. Which is a bit of a bummer, really, because, you're a tier higher. You get into tier 10 matches with this thing, and you've got a worse AA. I mean, the small caliber AA in return gets better, but it's still... The one saving grace here is that you get a better range. And the reason for that is that these 150mm main guns actually purposefully supposed to be dual purpose. I don't know how many planes you hit with a 350mm main gun, but if their elevation is good enough, that's why you've got a 4.2 kilometer range. So you've got less damage, better range on the primary AA, on the large caliber that will hit first. She's still a very, very good anti-aircraft cruiser, though. And in terms of concealment, they're relatively similar. She's a bit larger than the Cleveland and a little bit easier to hit. The Cleveland's quite compact, whereas this thing is really a large cruiser. Look at the difference between these two. So, yeah. Do we have a straight-up evolution from the Cleveland? Not quite. She feels like a different ship. And she's not massively more powerful than the Cleveland. She plays very much like a Cleveland, with the difference that she gets into tier 10 games. In terms of ship skills, it's the well-known skill set. So we get the air defense alert, we've got sonar, and we've got radar, which means, again, we are a utility ship. Setup-wise, given that she turns pretty nicely already, she's pretty maneuverable, I've gone with the propulsion mod, I've got the steering gear mod still, and I've got the precision in slot 1 because, you know, the guns are firing fast and a 16 degree per second main turret rotation is not bad either. So decided to go with the precision mod so we can hit stuff at range. But again, this ship isn't so much about hitting. This thing is about supporting. The commander on this line is Thomas Kincaid, the premium American commander, or legendary, or whatever you want to call them. So he gets the extended battlefield support, which gives us an extra sonar, an extra air defense alert, and an extra radar. And as luck would have it, the ship has a sonar, an air defense alert, and a radar. So, well, that's not a waste then. We get a better damage control cooldown. We get the faster A8 cooldown, so the improved air defense expert, which is really, really good if you're getting under sustained air attack. And what else do I have? I've actually got Daredevil on this thing, because if I do need to brawl, then, well, you don't often brawl in these things, but if you do get low health and you need to long-range kite or brawl, it's always good to have a bit better steering. We get an improved generalist skill, so I'm actually not running recon and surveillance, which I would otherwise do with a Hydra ship. I've got fully prepared here because, well, it's the only thing that made sense. We do get the improved extinguisher, which further reduces the amount of damage you're taking from fire. So these things are really, really not very susceptible to fire and flooding. And that's, again, because you're expected to come under concentrated air attacks occasionally. And further down the road, he gets the improved IFHE skill. So that'll be interesting as well to see. Anyway, that's the Seattle. Let's have a game. And the game we're going to play, or the game we're going to see, because I played it already, I'm just going to talk about it. The game we're going to see is, I think, kind of telling in how you're going to be successful with these ships. But I'll show you what I mean. So here we are, and we're top tier on the Atlantic map. Now, we're the only cruiser in our team. We've got Double Richelieu, Roma, Alabama, and Alexei. And a Kagero. But in return, the enemy team has some pretty good ships as well. There's a Mogami, so Firestarter, and 2 destroyers, a Benson and a Z. So let's start that. Atlantic is an interesting map because, well, lots of islands. And as we've seen previously, you really got to mind your flanks on this thing. So what am I doing in this map here? Where am I positioning myself? So I do know that the destroyers are going to be spawned. There are 2 destroyers, so they're going to be spawning on both flanks. So there's a very, very good chance that at least one of the destroyers is going to come around here, on my left here, right here. So I'm going to find myself an island right there, and then hope that the carrier is going to give me some spotting. So let's see if we can get the carrier to do that. Because once he can spot the destroyer, I can go and hunt him. I just don't want to get myself separated quite yet, because we're also under air attack. And there comes the enemy carrier. It's just 1 set of dive bombers, but, you know, I've got 4 defensive AA, so I might start using it. And he does something very interesting. He goes for me. He doesn't go for the 2 battleships, he actually goes for me. Now, I'm sitting here in an air defense bubble with 2 battleships. So, okay, be my guest. The friendly carrier gives us fighter support. There come the torpedo planes. Let's see if I can dodge away from these. I think I can take 1. No flood, so I'm just gonna heal that up. And well, these were 9 planes that he's not going to see again, but the destroyer is still there. Now the battleships are moving over more towards the center. I don't want to leave this position because that'll leave the destroyer open to run around, to torp a carrier or to torp the battleships. I want to be here. So I'm gonna move a little bit further out, and I'm still hoping. Yes, the fighters are nice here, thank you, but I would be actually really glad that you could spot the destroyer for me. Okay, I'm gonna have to poke my nose out a bit and go hunting. Of course, that means I'm leaving the defensive bubble or aircraft bubble. Okay, I'm spotted, and the planes are not in range, so there must be a destroyer. Let's pop the radar. It's probably just at the edge of my range here. Nope, there he is. Okay, gotcha. All right, it's the Benson. That's a double fire, so I'm going to control that, and because the torpedo planes are nowhere here, and I'm going to have to switch over to the armor piercing. Now, I don't want to get too close to the Benson. There's really no reason for me to get close to the Benson. There he is. Okay, let's find out if he's got torpedoes away, because I'm using the Hydro. And just, you know, reversing has actually meant the carrier has been overshooting. He's still trying to kill me. Bless his soul. I'm giving broadside to a lot of battleships back there, so I do need to maneuver a little bit. There's no need for the carrier. I've got this. There's no need for the carrier here to take the Benson on. I just want to sail away from the Benson, because the Benson wants to rush me. Well, of course he does, because he knows that I'm in a light cruiser and I can dodge his torpedoes relatively easily if he comes too close. Now the Benson smokes up. I don't have the Hydro or radar ready, but that's not necessary because he's not actually stopping in his smoke. He keeps sailing out of it. So yeah, that's not going to help you, Sunshine. And you know that's how you do it. You just kite away. If he's going to drop torpedoes, then you're just going to dodge them and you turn, and then the Benson's dead. So my job's done here. I have shot down 18 planes so far, and I've killed the Benson. The Benson cannot cap us, and cannot threaten our battleships, and cannot threaten our carrier. The carrier has actually moved out of the cap, presumably to get away from the Benson, but or to get closer to the enemy ships, but there's really no reason. Now, I've only done 18,000 damage so far, and we're halfway through the battle, but that's okay. And I'm not here to do the enormous amount of damage. So far, I've taken the attention of the carrier almost exclusively on myself, and I've killed the Benson. My jobs here is done, pretty much. I've done what I'm supposed to be doing as a support cruiser. I'm shooting down aircraft left and right, and I've killed the one destroyer that was rushing down our flank, so the whole rest of the team can just happily concentrate. And we haven't lost a single ship so far. So now we've switched back to the high explosive, and we can actually start laying out some fire at enemy ships. So there's a North Carolina, and we're just gonna start shooting. And these guns reload really quickly, and with a 5% fire chance, even in an American battleship, you're actually gonna get fires like that one. He damage cons a single fire, so now we're just gonna keep doing this. And both destroyers are dead, so the threat is my job's done in that regard. The threat is eliminated, so now I can just drop high explosive fire onto that thing, and I don't need to get any closer than that. I can just stay here. I'm in a position to disengage if the North Carolina decides that he wants to shoot at me. I'm still giving air cover to our ships here, because the carrier is still trying to, I don't know what he's trying to drop. If he's trying to drop me or something else, but we're all sticking together. And there was another fire, and yeah, just do these. Now I can become an HE spammer, and just do that. And the carrier is trying to drop the Roma, but we're still, even without the defensive AA up, we're still doing a reasonably good job of shooting planes down. Our Lexington is almost dead, but he survived.
I appreciate it.
And yeah, there's only the enemy carrier left. So there's not much more. There's not more to this battle now, because he's probably at the other end of the map at this point. And yeah, so I've done 35,000 damage. It is. Would I consider this a bad game? Not at all. Am I going to come out on top of this game? Probably not. But that's not the point. If you're in an American light cruiser, you're not there to come out on top in damage. You can, if you're getting into a position where you can just farm battleships with high explosive. But that's not the point of these things. In a battle like this, your job is to support your team, to make sure that your battleships don't get under concentrated air attack, especially things like the Roma, which has a terrible anti-air. And you're supposed to keep the flanks clean and to watch out for destroyers. And that's literally what I've done this game. I've been sitting back intentionally and keeping that flank clean, making sure that the destroyer wasn't coming through. And I mean, the Benson could have played it smarter and could have then smoked up or disengaged or tried to get into a brawl with me. But I would still have been okay with that. If I ended up just defeating that one Benson, and I've had games where I've been playing like that, where I just defeated one destroyer. I've done 20,000 points or 18,000 points of damage. Came out like third from the bottom or something. But that's my job. That's my job as an American light cruiser, especially on an island map like this, which has a lot of concealment for destroyers. I have to hang back. I have to do AA defense. I mean, I would do the exact same thing in a heavy cruiser, but that's what you're there for. So, well, let's see where we came in the team with this. Now, the game doesn't reward necessarily this kind of gameplay, but we've shot out a fair amount of planes, so that should count for something. Let's see where we come in the team with 35,000 damage done and 32 planes killed. We came in second. The Richelieu has done, well, a hell of a lot more damage, so fair enough, right? He's done it very well and done what he's supposed to be doing, but I've done what I'm supposed to be doing, and that makes me happy. For me, that's a good game. When you've done what you're supposed to be doing and you've helped your team win. It doesn't matter if you're coming out on top or if you're doing the most damage. And that is the way you're going to be successful in the Seattle. You're not out there to rush and focus down things. You can burn down things, obviously. You can kite away. You're an excellent ship for that. But your primary job is team play. Support your ships, keep the destroyers away, keep the planes away. Make sure that the rest of your team can do their job by doing yours. Anyway, that's it for me today. I'll see you all next time. Bye.